something didn't look right. Man, this guy is big. The head was kind of pointy. My name is Ray Lopez. I was born and raised in Northern California. Of course, being born and raised in California, you hear about Patterson-Gimlin, the film. And I was 9, 10 years old when it was filmed. And so, as you're growing up, you're kind of in the back of your mind, especially if I live in Northern California. I live in the Sac Valley. And of course, the mountains just not too far away. And we spent a lot of time up there as kids, as far as teenagers and young adults. And in the back of your mind, you're always thinking, well, it's possible, but these things, the Bigfoot, Sasquatches can exist. And I was always open to it, all through your life. And it wasn't until, in 2001, a buddy of mine, his daughter lives up in Loyalton, up in Sierra County. That's in the Sierra Nevadas. And he wanted to go deer hunting up there. And I said, yeah, let's go. So we got put in for it, got selected. So we went up there. It was September of 2001. As far as something going from myth and legend became real to me. The first opening day of deer season, we was up there, and I'm not familiar from that area up there, but he selected this one ridge, and then the ridge was running from west to east pretty much, and then so he decided he'll go. He said, well, I'll go on the south facing side and you on the north facing side. So, okay, that's good enough for me. And so, so we start off, it was opening day deer season. So I go on the north facing slope of this ridge. I'm moving along. As soon as I around the front of it and then heading down this ridge, off to a little distance there I see these two white things, moving around, and looks like one was chasing the one in front. So my mindset was, I'm looking at a buck that's chasing a doe. So I'll go, okay. Well, I look what time it was, and you make sure it was legal, shooting time, and it was 6:21 in the morning. And so I go, well, I'm going to make a sneak. So I go along, I'm watching for a little bit, and I lose sight of them. And I'm moving along about 10 minutes. And then, I'm looking around trying to find and see where these deer had gone. And so I'm standing there looking, and then all of a sudden this ridge, on top of this ridge, it's timbered. And then below the timber was brush. But out of timber comes walking this guy, looked like he was wearing a white t-shirt. He come walking out. I was walking from west to east, and he comes walking out from south to north. So I'm going, oh my gosh, this guy ruined my hunt. Why is this guy in this t-shirt up here? And in the morning was cool. I had a sweatshirt on, and so he was big, and so I thought, he's a kind of athletic looking guy. So he's kind of, well, maybe he's out here for a hike, because that small town was like a mile away. It wasn't that far, so he's maybe on a hike. But he walks out. He said, well, I'm looking at him and kind of like, oh man, this guy's a big guy, and so I'm thinking he ruined my hunt, but that's the way it goes, and then but something didn't look right, I don't know if it was the way he was moving or the size, so I didn't have binoculars with me. And so, I got, so I took the shells out of the rifle. And through the scope, I was looking at him. First when I looked at him, I looked at his lower back, because I was looking for a rifle. I didn't see no rifle, but I'm going, man, this guy's big. And then from the lower back, I move up higher. I'm still looking for a rifle, because I'm thinking, well, even the guy that looked like he had a white t-shirt on, I thought maybe he's out hunting. I don't know. And so, I look up his shoulder, and I kept on thinking to myself, man, this guy is big. Look at the shoulders, and then I look at the top of his head. Well, the head was kind of pointy, and I started chuckling myself, man, this guy got a pointy head. And I go, wow. And from there, and then I'm looking at, then I look from the top of the head, it looks like it pointy, to my mindset, what I remember what it looked like was kind of like a coconut. That's what it reminds me of. But then I looked at his face. I'm looking at his side, his left side of his face, the profile, and then I noticed. And then I'm going, whoa! It's kind of like I realized that the skin, rather than being a human's, it looked more like a gorilla. And what I mean by that is that it was thick and fleshy and kind of leathery, like a gorilla's. It was dark it had probably a grayish tint to it. So it looked like a lot like a gorilla, that in that way, as far as the skin. I don't think it was as dark as a gorilla, maybe, but I'm going like, whoa, what is this? And then I'm looking at it, and of course, I'm going, whoa. I crank up my scope to the highest setting because it's a variable scope, except 9 pound. I'm looking at it, and I'm as far as differences as a gorilla, the nose, it had a hooded nose, in the face, the jaw didn't protrude out. It was flat. The face is flat, and it had a really robust brow and a deep set, and it had a sloping forehead, and accumulated into this pointy head. And I'm looking at it, I'm going, holy smokes. I kept on thinking at the time I'm looking at American Gorilla. I mean, over and over, I kept on telling myself, I was saying to myself, American Gorilla. And I'm looking at it, I'm just bewildered. It's kind of, wow. I'm looking at it, and then I look at its chest. I'm just trying to take this all in. And the only one to describe it is barrel chested. The term barrel chested. These things are very muscular, barrel chested. But then I noticed the upper arms and the shoulders were massive. Because it was standing there and it moved a little bit so that I couldn't even see the chest. And so I'm looking at the upper arms, and I'm going, whoa. These things are just like I said, it's a mass. They're built as massive. And I'm just going over and looking at it, and I can see it when it grimace a little bit. I can see, it looks like, I only describe it. It looks like a gorilla, the flesh. But it's just standing there looking down in the valley, and I'm watching it, and it puts its hands in front of its, like its lower belly there, and just kind of had its hands cupped, crossed over a little bit, just standing there, just looking down in this valley. And that made, I'm like, oh, then I started convincing myself, well, it's just a guy. Okay. And now I'm thinking, okay, just a guy out here. I don't know what he's out here, that white t-shirt, but, I just kind of like, well, I convinced myself it's a guy. So he doesn't see me. So I thought, well, I better, make it so that he can see me, know that I'm here, just in case he was hunting. So, so I walked down, because we were parallel on this ridge. And so I walked down way so he can see me as parallel vision, peripheral vision. And then as soon as it did see me, it made this move. It's really blocky. I can't describe it but it really moved really quick. And it startled me the way it moved. And I'm going, okay, now what is this? What is this thing? And I'm going back to, a gorilla, like, because it moved. It was fast. And then we're looking at each other. We're what I estimate we're probably 80 yards away from each other. And here again, it was brush down there, and the timber was higher, so I had a clear view. And that morning it was clear sky, and so we're light, but it's a little gray yet, because the sun wasn't yet over the mountains, so I can see him pretty clearly. And then we're looking at each other, and it starts swaying back and forth, and I'm going, oh, okay, now what's going on with this guy? What is this? And at the time I'm looking at it, and I started to bring my rifle up again to look at it through the scope. I said, no, I can't do that. But looking at it, and then I'm going, oh gosh, and I can tell from that distance, I can't see fine features of its face at that distance without some kind of binoculars or something, but I can see he was getting mad. And I got, holy man, what is this guy getting mad about? And then, of course, it's swaying back and forth. And, I kind of like, oh, well, my sweatshirt was a camouflage sweatshirt, and I had a red cap on. I thought, well, maybe it wasn't enough, recognize what, maybe he has poor eyesight or something, because I can clearly see him. So I decided, well, I better do something. So I'm standing there, and then kind of it's getting mad, and so I better do something. So I raised my hand above my head, kind of like this, and wave back and forth, like that. And all of a sudden I realized, I didn't see his funny features, but it backed up like that. Like I surprised it almost looked like I shot it, and it made this blocky turn again, but really quick uphill and ran. And well, I couldn't see it's lower from the waist down. So it went up this hill real quick, but it looked like it looked like it was floating. It just like, I saw it for about 4 to 6 seconds running. At the time I thought it was just floating, just because it was smooth, so graceful the way it ran. And this is going up through rough country. And I just kind of like, well, I didn't know what I was looking at. I was thinking, at the time I was thinking, your mind is going 1,000 miles an hour, and yeah, thinking, well, at times I thought it was a monster, or I didn't know what I was saying, like a gorilla. So I made my way over there. I kind of, well, I got to go check it out. I want to see if I can find some prints or something. So I went up higher on the ridge by where the tree line was, and then I can hear the other one on the, I couldn't see it, but I can hear it. So I went down further down to give me some more space. And of course, I had my gun ready. And so when I got over there to where it was standing, I could see where, the ground was disturbed. I can see where it was at standing at. I'm looking for prints, and I'm looking there, I'm looking at it, and I'm looking over where I was standing. And then I'm going to realize, well, this brush, because there's a wash. It was standing on the other side of this one wash, what had brush on it. And I realized that this brush came up to my chest, and I thought, I couldn't see the lower part, and I was seeing its waist on up. And I'm going, oh, well, this thing, how tall? I realized that this thing is about 7 to 8 feet tall. But at mindset, I'm still thinking gorilla or some, I don't know what it was. And I'm looking around, for other signs, prints and things like that. And then my buddy I was hunting with, he came around the other side of the ridge. And all I said was, did you see that white? Did you see something white? And he said no. And after that, I just clammed up. I didn't say anything. Tell you the truth, I didn't tell anybody for 2 years. In fact, I didn't tell my buddy. Well, the thing is, after I saw it, and when I got back home, I started research as far as, in my mind, still gorilla. I started, online putting in like, North American gorilla or white American gorilla or something like that. Then finally it came up as far as, Sasquatches. And then realized, read a report, somebody else had reported seeing white Sasquatch. I didn't, at this time, I didn't realize that they can come in different colors as far as the hair. And then realized, and I started, it dawned on me, 2+2, with the conical head, in the skin, and the way it ran, it's very graceful, it's smooth. They don't bob or weave, and so I realized, right then that was a Sasquatch. So that, myth and legend became real to me. And like I said, and it wasn't 2 years later before I told my buddy, and then he was the only one told until, well, it was about, always in the back of your mind. Once you have these encounters, it's always in your mind. So I was always researching, and then I came across as far as BFRO having these expeditions. It was 10 years later, which I went on my first expedition, and this was Bluff Creek, it was 2011. And so, of course, then actually the last night there, we had an encounter in which we seen one on a thermal, and so that, I was hooked then. Been squashing ever since.
So you go out and research now, and let's kind of go back to that incident where you saw it. Did it make any vocals at all when you were observing it?
No, it didn't make no vocals at all. I didn't hear anything. Even when it was running, I couldn't hear it. I was a little distance. I was 80 yards away, but still, you think it would have heard something, but I didn't hear nothing. Like I said, unfortunately I couldn't see the bottom half of its legs, but um, it was quick. Like I said, I
By
was
the
about
time you, by the time that incident ended, had you concluded that it wasn't a person because you were in your mind trying to rectify that if it was a person or not, right?
right. Yeah, I didn't know what it was. In your mind, you're trying to figure this thing out. I mean, if I was going to draw myself as a cartoon, I'll be drawing these sparks, coming out my head and smoke come out your ears. It's kind of like I couldn't figure it out. I saw something supernatural. When it ran, all I can see because the hair is white and its hair was short. It was about an inch, throughout its body. The face did not have any hair. But when it ran, it was white. It was like, yeah, like a sheet, like a white sheet. You put on a clothesline or something, and then somebody pulls it. It was just so smooth. But I realized, it was no man. I mean, at the time, what I thought it was a man was because it was standing up on two legs. And it was, there was times where, like when it was looking down the valley, you think, well, it looked like a man just looking, just looking down the valley and just enjoying the scenery.
So you go out now and you do research. And have you had any? I mean, you said saw something on a thermal. Have you had any other experiences out researching?
Oh yeah, yes. There's a number of different things, and so I think there was one time. There was 2015. I have this study area, which a buddy of mine, Jeff from Oregon, up there. He was going to come down, and we're going to go out do an outing at this location I have. So we decided to go down. We have our base camp, and then there's a creek, just down below us, just a short ways. And so we were heading down there to the creek, check the creek out. And then we got about three-quarters of the way down, and then we hear a knock. It was a good knock. Of course, we're squatchers, so it gets us exciting. And then we get to the bottom of the creek. And then just over on the other side of the creek and just a little ways above the hill, a little ways, we couldn't see the bottom of the tree, but it was like it was about 80-foot, pine tree. And all of a sudden the tree starts swaying, going like this, that like that, swaying back and forth. And then finally it knocked it over. This is a big tree, it's, like that, a big old pine tree. And we're sitting there, holy smokes, and so we sat down. We sat down and we were about 15 minutes. We tried talking to it. Of course, it didn't respond. We decided, well, we better back out. So we did. So that was another experience that we had.
Have you experienced any of the vocals?
That was in 2015. We're here again. We was at this base camp, and then this is the study location, and we were there, and then we had gone. There's a small town close by, so we had me and my other buddy. We had went and had dinner. We came back from dinner. We were there just talking and like that, and then my buddy just walked down the road to do some business, and then all of a sudden I hear some yelling, some like, hey, what does that sound like? I'm going, what? Why is it was the first time that my friend was there? First time I was there. It's why is he going off the road? Then I realized it wasn't him. It was something else. And there's only one way getting into this location. And so I go realize what it was. And so he came back and was wide eyed and come back in the camp and says, okay. And I grabbed a recorder. I had a couple of recorders going. And I grabbed another recorder and said, okay, let's go. And it was going to creek, and then we on this road. It was on a road, and we walked down there, and then got to this one location there where finally I said, I'm gonna do a call, and then I did a call, and it responded, and it made it mad. It kind of was yelling at me a little bit.
What do you think they are at this point? You've had some time to evaluate what you saw and of course had other experiences as well. What do you think they are at this point?
When I first started, I thought there was just another primate, but now I think they're more than just just more than just animal. Some people here say that they're animal, but I think they're inclined. They're more of like a people. I think they're different species than we are. But I think they're, again, classify them as people. And the reason why I think that is I think they do have a language, and they do, uh, we have to, try to interpret it with, like, like stick structures and glyphs and stuff like that. So they're not just out there peeing on a stump somewhere, marking their territory. They're actually putting things out there as far as like an X structure or something like that to classify, their territorial, their territory.
Have you
So
found some of those structures?
yes, I have. Yeah.
Okay, describe some of those to me.
So there's X structures, which, just here again, like I explained, is, or like I say, there's just X, but there's like the way weave, like in between trees, another tree, uh or they'll bend it over, and they'll place at the end what they bend over the tip of the tree. They'll usually place another tree. So those are the things I see up here where my study area.
Have you heard the Sierra sounds?
Yes, I have.
What do you think of those?
They sound real to me. I have never heard, though, like that called as the samurai chatter. I haven't heard that. As far, I got some audio recordings, but I have heard like a click. I call that click talk, and it's like similar to like some of the African tribes. As far as clicking, they go use a kind of like that. I heard them do that.
Yeah, I've
But
heard
as
of
far
that
as,
too. Mhm.
okay, yeah, but as far as the samurai chatter, I haven't really heard that clearly.
Have you been outside of your region to do research, or mostly just in the California area?
Just in California, but however, where I have my study area, it's in the Coast Range. Whereas we do a lot of outings in the Sierra Nevadas, which is on the opposite, it's in this, of course, the Sierra Nevada range. We do a lot of research up there, or we do outings, go out. In fact, this year, uh, we have activity. It was one time. It was funny. It was it was getting activity, and I'm one of those guys at night. I have a tent that you can stand up in when the Kodiak, cabin tents. I don't go once I go in a tent at night. When I go to bed there, I don't go outside. I have one of these medical bottles that that you can use. So I have to go up. One of these guys have to get up at several times at night, and then at certain times, every night at the same time. Well, this one morning, I get up, I wake up, and then down the road, I hear there's somebody else camped down the road about a mile or two away, and then I'll hear this horn honking for extended, audio. It was 15 seconds. Just I'm going, oh, I know where they're at, and where the squashes are at. But I get up, and I'm kind of have my bottle in my hand, and then all of a sudden, it was really dark. There was no light. And then well, hear this scratching on my tent. I had them before it come around my tent, but I had never, other buddies have messed around with their tent, but then this one was scratching on the tent. And I go, oh, this is going to be interesting. But then I realized I'm standing there listening. I can't see because it was over there by my door, but in the corner of the door where the zippers come together, I realized it was the scratching was coming within the tent. As if, when I looked later on, well, the first thing I did, and it startled me. And so, right away, instead of turning the light on, I wish I would turn the light, but I slapped at this tent wall and I gave her a gruddle, hey, so it took off. But I looked where it apparently had its finger or the hand, but it was too small for hand, but the corner there, the door tent it was open. We had it, made it open so it must put its fingers in there. So I thought that got me going.
I bet it did. It sounds like it could have been a
It's like,
real
I want to, I like this kind of interaction. I like it when they're like 80 yards away, during the day. You can watch them, not inside my tent.
Exactly. That would be a scary event, I would imagine. So, if you were to give advice to someone who has not yet experienced a Sasquatch or Bigfoot, and they're wanting to go out and do research. What would you tell them to look for? What's the evidence bases that they're looking for to know if they're on the right track?
Well, I look at, when I first started doing it, of course, I got, like Google Map or something like that, or Google Earth, look at the terrain, waterways, either lakes, creeks, that type of thing, reservoirs. Look for that first. That's where I would start.
Yeah.
And yeah, yeah. For as far as the structures, you know, it's hard to tell different the X structure. I can see it now, but I had a friend when I first started this. It was after the 2011. I met some guys there. That's when we first started squatching, and the guy was, he was knowledgeable, and he would show me as far as what to look for, and it's tough. But once you see them, like, okay, it's easier to find. Once somebody shows you as far as, okay, this is what you're looking for, actually point it out, it's easier to find like the structures and the X structures. I haven't really seen glyphs, but I've seen pictures of them from other people, from other squatchers.
How often do you get to go out and do the research?
Usually we get out 5, 6 times a year. This last, 4 or 5 years, I usually get a couple nights to a week outing. I do have audio recordings, which I go up. This last year is not, well, this last year wasn't as much, but in the past I was going up on a day trips, probably once every 2 weeks. I have to swap out my recordings. I got to hike this one area. I got to hike in for about a mile.
I've heard that the longer you're in an area, sometimes they become a little bit more comfortable with your presence, and you'll have more interaction on those latter days. Have you had that experience?
I get some knocks when I walk in. Of course, I feel reasonably comfortable in thinking that they do recognize me. They'll knock. They'll do some knocks. There was one area there where it was last year. I usually take my brother with me. He's one of these close old self-proclaimed skeptics. Not he says he's not gonna believe one until they exist, and until one jumps from behind a tree and pushes him down, stands over and pisses on him. So, but last year, with this one, I put a new location up, which I can't get to. This last winter, it just washed out the roads. I can't get to it, but new location. I put another one recorder up, and my brother was with me. Was while hiking down the road, and then all of a sudden, it was like a freight train going through the brush. It wasn't very close. Only the best way to describe it, it was like a bluff charge, but only lasted a couple seconds. And if it would lasted a couple seconds more, I was about ready to tell my brother. I said, we need to get out of here. So, but it's an active area, and they like I said, they recognize. I think they do recognize me, and they'll knock every once in a while.
Do you think there's any danger there? Has anyone experienced danger in that area from them?
I have not, but it's always in the back of my mind. That you always have to be aware that like I don't go by myself, but it's the back of my mind. They never been other than pushing that one tree down, they haven't been aggressive that way towards me. I haven't experienced that, but it's always in the back of my mind that there's always that possibility that can be aggressive.
Right. Exactly. Well, what else can you tell me? What else have you experienced or heard about or researched or think about Bigfoot?
Well, there's a couple things. Maybe what struck my mind here was this in 2001. We was in the Sierra Nevadas. About 5 or 6 of us. Of course, we was getting activity, knocks, and movement and things like that. The wind was blowing pretty hard. It was like 20-mile-an-hour wind, so we couldn't hear very clearly. But this thing, we were sitting around a campfire. It was like 9 o'clock or something like that. And all of a sudden, we're around the campfire, and all of a sudden, we'll hear this not stomping but running. Of course, the Sierra Nevadas, they have these granite outcroppings. It's pretty, it's pretty large. But this thing started running. You can hear it, you almost can feel it, but you hear this something running. We were all, just amazed. It was just it wasn't aggressive towards us. I didn't feel threatened because it just, I don't know if it was some kind of power thing, or it was just showing off. I don't know, but if he was trying to impress us, he impressed us. Uh, Another thing is, as far as what I've come across, is this eye glow, and it is a glow, eye glow. That's not eye shine. Uh, I can't explain that, but it's amazing. I've seen the red, mostly red, but I've seen it's kind of a lime green. It's almost the same color I can describe as like those glow sticks. And also is I've seen a white with a bluish tint to it, as far as the eye glow. The green was really amazing. It was I come in from we were doing night activities. Come in, a friend of mine was in camp, and he didn't go out, and he was asking about, well, if we had activity, and I explained to him I had a backpack on, but I started taking my backpack off, and then I noticed that behind him, about 30 yards, was looked like these green eyes looking at me. It was you're kind of like stunned, and I'm going, holy smokes. And then yeah, it was green, but they were, pretty large. And, like I said, they would look like eyes, dark. And then I seen this one, must have been a juvenile, little baby, a red eye, but next to and it must have been a mother, because it's like hanging on, like I can describe, like a mother and its child, because the red eye was running around its hip, on her hip, I guess. And then I'm sitting there just, I had thermal, FLIR. I didn't, I was so stunned. I didn't even use it. And then it recorded. I'm just sitting there staring at it. And I tell my buddy, hey, whoa, whoa, and he sat there. I said, don't move, don't move. And it slowly, the eyes just, it was like this. And it just it was like 7 feet up the ground. It just slowly moved down like this. And then there was a berm there in front of it. And then I couldn't see it. So that was amazing. So
Sounds like it. Have you
that,
talked about the eye globe? Have you seen any orbs or any unusual lights around them?
yeah. I haven't really, I'm going to say orb, but what I've seen is, what I can say is, like, sometimes there would be flashes of light, usually a dull amber, or sometimes there'll be sparkly, kind of sparkle red, kind of reddish or amber. So I've seen that in association with the swatches. So usually, but I have to thinking, well, maybe I'm just straining, because you're at night, and usually, and then you're straining to look at it. Maybe my eyes are just pixelated or something like that. But I've seen lights like that, and I've been with other guys who've seen orbs, and these guys are just they're out there seeing, just instead of being at home on the couch somewhere, they out there and trying to have a question. They want to know what this is about. So they go out there and and all of a sudden they'll say, well, I saw an orb. I go, oh, so yeah, I've seen the lights. Like I said, I haven't seen the orb, but it seems like to be associated with the Sasquatches.
When you describe that as a kind of a sparkly kind of light, describe what shape and where did you see it? And I mean, in context to your environment, where did you see it?
There was one year, I think that was, I don't remember, I think that was 2020. I had stuck out a one of the glow stick. We have base camp, and outside of base camp, I stuck this glow stick. And then we were sitting there talking, just guys sitting around a campfire. And then all of a sudden we were hearing some movement. And then all of a sudden we see just flickers. I can say there was no shape to it, but it was just a flicker, just lights. Like it was mostly dull, like a dull amber color, but some were sparkly. And so we got our attention. So we were looking, and some of the guys had the thermals, and I had one. That all of a sudden, a buddy of mine, Bart, let me borrow it, and of course it went down. But there was apparently there was three Sasquatches then, but we identified as but the lights were there with at the same location where the Sasquatches were, but it was, like I said, it was mostly dull amber, or some of them were sparkly, looked like sparkly, but they're just real quick, just like that.
Oh, it was like just a spark that came. So they were the Sasquatch in the wooded area, some distance away from you?
Yeah.
About how far away from you?
That was oh my gosh, it wasn't that far. Oh, maybe 40 yards.
Okay, so they're back in the woods and the sparks are just coming out of kind of the wooded area.
Yes. Right, correct.
How long did you see that?
That was that went on for oh about 10 minutes. You know,
It was an isolated incident. That's the only time you saw it.
there was other times where I seen the lights, you know, as far as the, you know, like I said, the amber or some, a lot of times there'll be like a little sparkles real quick, maybe a couple times. And then that's where one of them time was when we did see another time it was we saw eye glow. And it was this one time we was going to this one area that was there's a meadow, and then we stand out this meadow, and before we got there, I was seeing the sparkling, this lights, the amber color, and so we got to this meadow, and off in the timber there, one lady said that she said she saw movement. Okay, I said, you know, you stay here, and I'll go walk up to where she thought she saw movement, and so see if I get something going. So I walked up there, and I'm looking around. I didn't say anything, so I came back to the group. There was 5 of us. You know, we was down in the middle of this meadow, and then looking around, and you know, we was getting some, you know, hearing some activity as far as noises and movement, and some knocks maybe, and some flashes of light again. And then we started to move out, go back, and then I had this feeling. Well, I looked back over to where I was just standing, just not too long ago, close to this wooded area, and I see this eye glow, this glow. You know, of course, looks like a headlamp. And at first, thought it was another group, but then I go, no, the other group is, you know, off farther. And then I told one of my buddy, hey Wayne, look to your right. He looks over there, and all of a sudden he points has everybody look over there, and we're standing there watching it. And at that time, also, I had another time where I had a thermal. It recorded. I'm just sitting there, you know, and I played over my head how long it lasted. It gave us 15 seconds. You know, it'd look at us and look at the trail, then look back at us, and then off. They looked at the trail, then walked off. So that was amazing.